Alumni weekend. Really excited about having our alums come back. We're highlighting the 1970 team, their 55th anniversary of a national championship, and then teams of the 90s, along with Mark Van Arsdale, who was a fantastic assistant coach here for so many years. And so we're excited to highlight the alums. And then two great causes. Harlem Lacrosse, we were expecting between 30 and 40 Harlem Lacrosse players and coaches will be here, along with Morgan's Message, an incredible charity and cause. It's raising the awareness of mental health. So a lot to play for this weekend, aside from, win and go to the ACC tournament.
You mentioned this is sort of win or go home lacrosse, or at least for the ACC tournament. Every year you talk about peaking at the right time, peaking in April and May.
Sure.
Where do you feel like this team is right now?
It's a great question. We are 0-3 in the ACC, and we're desperate for a win in the conference. And so we played well against Lafayette. Different type of game though. Lafayette wanted to create helter-skelter with their 10-man ride, and we 10-man rode them, and that was an up and down fest. Duke is going to be much more disciplined, and they're going to try to create the 6v6 while getting their own transition. So we're going to have to play at a higher level than we have, for sure.
What stands out about Andrew McAdory in midfield? What makes him a tough cover?
Yeah, he's a really tough cover because you don't know if he's going to be a midi or an attackman. He's been playing attack the last couple games, but they could certainly put him back to midfield. His electric speed, what a burst he has. And then he's played a lot of box lacrosse and a lot of field lacrosse as well, so his skills are fantastic. And he's somebody that we certainly have to keep just about our best defenseman on and be ready to still support him.
What else stands out about Duke?
It's really the transition game. Their athleticism at the defensive end, but then you combine the short CT middies and their offensive middies and their face-off middies. The transition they can create from the face-off X and from their defensive end is startling, to tell you the truth. Watching them on film, I don't know if we've seen a team that can create transition from a save or a ground ball as quickly and as aggressively as Duke has. So, we like to run. And can you have it both ways? Can you run without giving up the runs back at you? That's asking a lot, but that's what we're asking of our men.
You talked a little bit about it on Saturday, just about how the win and the effect that it had for you guys. But just going into this week, how have you seen the guys kind of, respond to practice and kind of come to practice every day, just knowing what's in front of them on Saturday?
This group really does care. This group is, it's a tough group. The practices we've been doing are toughness drills. They love to get in there and slash each other and chip each other, bang each other, knock each other on the ground. A little fight here and there is okay. This is a group we're desperate for that first ACC win this year. And sure, it extends the season. It extends the opportunity to play more lacrosse and be together on the field, where we really truly care for each other and care for this game and show our passion for this game. So I've really liked the way we've practiced, but it certainly comes down to how we perform on Saturday against a very athletic team.
You used the word desperate. You mentioned desperation on Saturday. Is that something, like when you're talking to guys, that you lean into or away from?
I do lean into it. Just make sure that everyone understands the sense of urgency here. That, another ACC loss means we're turning our equipment in. And make sure we understand that, because we haven't been in this position in many, many years. And depending where they were with their high school teams, they may not have been in this position of potentially not making a tournament. And so I want to make sure, fellas, there's no more we got tomorrow. There is no more tomorrow. It's got to happen now. So I want to make sure they understand that desperation. Every time there's that loose ball, that's got to be like the last ball on the planet Earth. We need to secure that ball.
And you have that coupled with, obviously, the losing streak against Duke. I'm sure you get asked about this every year, but how much is that something you guys think about and something that is just there for you?
We've talked about it a little bit, because it's there. You can't deny the success Duke has had on the lacrosse field against us, and so we talk about it a little bit. But we certainly focus. Okay, let's talk about their transition game. Let's talk about their midfielders. Let's talk about their defense and focus on what we can control in front of us.
We just talked to Jack Walsh. Talk about his journey from injuries to being a captain now. Talk about that.
Yeah, Jack, what a tough road he had for the first 3 to 4 years. And when he decided to come back for a 5th year, I was actually surprised, because it hasn't been what any athlete would have wanted. Constantly going back into the training room with another injury or aggravating an old injury, it kind of felt like he would just give up. And when he said, no, I'm coming back, I was like, man, this guy is tough. This is resilience. Because he could have another poor health fifth year. There's no guarantee that he comes back and he's healthy. So we're thrilled for him. What was also a wonderful surprise is that he was named a captain. That his teammates said, no, we want this guy. If he's coming back for fifth year, we want him to be a captain. And what a credit to who he is as a man, someone who speaks truth to his teammates and to his coaching staff, and has persevered through all the hardship.
And that's a guy who played in nine games, I think, over 4 years.
Yeah.
He becomes a captain. How does that happen?
Great question. I'm not sure either. Like, when the votes came in, it was clear he was going to be a captain. We let the team make the votes, and they decide. As a coaching staff, we just cut off. Is it going to be 2 captains, 3 captains, 4 captains? But there was no question he was going to be a captain looking at those number of votes. So I see some of that on the field, but I think Jack is just an incredibly caring person who's behind the scenes, touching base points with you and you, all of his teammates, and making sure the guys are doing the right things.
You've had stretches of games this season, particularly early on, first, second quarter, where the team has looked good on both ends. How do you kind of bottle that up and make it happen over 60 minutes?
That's a great question, right? We've not been great in the third quarters, and we started some other games slow. It's putting it all together, and that's the testament of what a really good team is. Can you do this for 60 minutes, not just 40 or 45 minutes, and then all of a sudden you give up a 5-goal run? The way we started against Maryland, and all of a sudden, bam, we're down 5-0. And some of the third quarters where Syracuse got 4 in a row to take the lead on us. So it's it's relying on some of our depth, and just spurring them on as a coach. I'm the jockey whipping that horse. We got to keep going. We got to keep running until this thing's over. 60 or 60 plus minutes. We got to be ready for it. But that'll certainly be tested this weekend.
You guys and Duke have had some pretty big time matchups over the years, but you could argue the stakes haven't been higher than they are for you in this game since you saw them in the Final Four back in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
How does that add just a new wrinkle to this rivalry that's been one-sided?
Yeah, it's not much of a rivalry when it's one-sided, is it? But it's there's no question that what we need to do on Saturday is play at a higher level than we have most this year. And the season's a race to improve. And can we continue to get better? And can we continue to prove that we have on Saturday against another ACC opponent? We've played okay lacrosse in the ACC, but not good enough to get a win. We get a chance to do that Saturday.
You've been without Anthony Gabriel for a while. Any chance he comes back? And if not, what can you do at the X with Greenspan and Mets to kind of even the odds there?
Yeah, I mean, it will be the Greenspan Mets show. No Anthony Gabriel this weekend. They have put us in a position where we've actually secured just over 50% of our faceoffs in our first 3 ACC games against elite faceoff men. And now we face another good crew of faceoff men with the Duke specialists. They have 3 of them. So it'll be a challenge for Greenspan and Mets and our wings. There's some real athletes coming off those wings that we got to deal with this weekend. With the poles that Duke has, McGuire, Gray, they've got some fantastic middies there, along with some elite faceoff specialists. So that's going to be the key. We've stepped up to that challenge so far in most of our games, and against some elite ones. So, we believe that Greenspan and Mets can make this a battle there, and we got to prove it Saturday.
We've got a couple other guys out with injuries, Joey Terenzi in midfield. Do you expect to get anybody else back for this weekend or the ACC tournament?
Yeah, I don't. Nothing too different this weekend, unfortunately. Yeah, the 2025 season will go down as an injury-riddled year. But I'll stop there because that nobody wants to hear me talk about that. We got to focus on what we have. We got great men who want to battle and compete, and so yeah, what you've seen is what you're going to get.